Good morning and welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Today's topic is pet franchises. And today we're lucky to have Jamie LaVine with Resting Rainbow. Welcome. Oh, and her wonderful dog. Introduce yourself.
Is Winchester.
Okay.
He is a Mastiff. He is half Mastiff, half Poodle. So he's got a funny name, Mastiff. And he was one of 14 in his litter, actually. So he looks like an Ewok, a giant teddy bear.
I agree. And you're a sweetie for being here. Thank you, Jamie. And start us off and tell the audience a little bit about you and how you came to work at Resting Rainbow.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This month actually is my 17th year, finishing my 17th year in franchising. So going into my 18th
Congratulations.
year. Not quite as long as you, Anna, but getting there. um, I love the franchise industry, and I learned a while back that I really appreciate and enjoy working in passion and community based franchise systems. And I really enjoy the emerging space. It's exciting, it's fun, and with my ADHD, it works well. um, so I was introduced to Resting Rainbow through a friend of mine, and it really got me excited. As you and I both know, that there's a lot of checklists that candidates are trying to check off in this process to see what's the best fit for them.
Right.
And I believe that Resting Rainbow checks off more boxes than any of the other brands that I've worked for. So that got me really excited. And it didn't mean it wasn't going to be a challenge, because there
Yeah.
are some boxes that might not check off. So was introduced to one of the founders, and we just hit it off, and here I am.
Well, there is such an interesting story about how Resting Rainbow got started. So share that great story with the audience, Jamie. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, as all us pet owners know, our pets are like our babies, our children. Um,
Hmm.
and the same is the case for the founder, Joe. He has a history of having Rottweilers, prized Rottweilers, might I add. And when his Rottweiler Haley passed, his brother actually owned a pet cremation business, and he went to him and said, "Hey, I want a private pet cremation. Will you do
Hmm.
that?" And they said yes. So the day of the cremation, he showed up. They weren't expecting him to show up. And they're like, "Joe, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?" He goes, "I want to see my Haley. I want to be able to say goodbye to her." And Haley was on top of a bunch of other pets that were going to be
Oh,
cremated.
no.
Yes. So, of course, Joe was very upset because they promised and he paid for
For
a
a
private
private. Mhm.
cremation. Yeah. And the brother and sister in law were like, "Joe, you're overreacting. This is just what everybody does. It
Mhm.
is what it is. Like, relax." And Joe's like, "No, absolutely not." So he took Haley and found a place that was willing to do it and let him watch, because now he is, he doesn't believe anybody, right? And so, that's how Resting Rainbow was born. It started off as Peaceful Pause and Memorial. That's our corporate location.
Mhm.
And he was like, "I can't be the only one that feels this way and wants this type of service." And so that's how the business began.
Well, that's a very moving story, and I too am a pet parent, so I can appreciate that very much. Well, so Jamie, shed light on the role that the owner of a Resting Rainbow plays in the business.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the check boxes that I love, because it's such a simple model.
Mhm.
It just it of course depends on if they want to be owner operator or semi absentee, or I think, as you like to say, manage the manager.
Manage manager, right?
It is so simple because, if they want to be owner operator, they can choose to be either that front of house person, or the technician. or a combination of both. But I believe that most of our franchise owners are going to be semi-absentee because let's face it, that's what majority of candidates are looking for. It's a
They
very
really
small
are.
percentage of people looking to be owner operator today. And so
Mhm.
this model allows that in a very simple way because it only takes 2 to 3 employees. So you hire a front of house manager, you manage that person. That person now manages the bulk of the business. And the owner now has to manage the reputation, the community,
Mhm.
manage the P&L. And that's it. I mean, it's that simple. There will be a heavy lift at the beginning to get the
Mhm.
location up and running, and they have to go through owner training. But once you get through that, it's such a predictable business model, and it's very transactional and simple,
Mhm.
and the technology platforms that we have make it very, very simple for the owners to be able to log in on their phone, on the app on their phone, and see what's happening with their cremator, see what's happening with the case load, and see where there's
Mhm.
any hole, pigeonholes that are happening, or those types of things. So it's quite simple.
Well, Jamie, give a little more explanation about so who establishes like relationships with veterinary clinics in the area and that sort of thing?
That's
How?
a great question. So, Joe, when he started the business, he did the Field of Dreams approach. If you build it, they will come. And up
Uh-huh.
until 2 months ago, he did absolutely zero marketing to veterinarians.
Wow.
And he did amazing because the need is so huge for these pet cremation companies to be private and to be authentic and professional and stuff like that, that
Mhm.
the vets just learned about him and came to him directly. However,
Mhm.
turning this into a franchise, it's
Right.
going to be very different. So now the vet business is the bulk of the business because most people believe you have to go to the vet. So you need to work with the vets. So it's just letting them know that you exist,
Mhm.
and reaching out to them. We recently hired an outside commission only salesperson to do that, which is something
Mhm.
very easy that the franchisees can do. Just
Mhm.
pay them commission only, a flat rate if they sign on this size vet clinic, a flat rate if it's this size vet clinic, and cover
Mhm.
T&E, right? Mileage and gas, that type of
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
But the vet clinics are going to be the most important piece because upfront, because they have the bulk of the business. But
Mhm.
the other side of it is the marketing to the consumers. And up until recently, all Joe ever did was Google AdWords and pay per click. He kept it
Wow.
simple. I mean, simple marketing. However, again, to take it the extra mile as a
Mhm.
franchise,
Mhm.
now, and this has been the case with all the brands I've worked for, is you've got to build an awareness factor in the community and build trust
Mhm.
in that community, especially when you're
Right.
talking with pets. So if you start getting involved in the community, sponsoring events, anything that's going on to do with animals, of course, working with the
Mhm.
ASPCA, then you build that awareness that the consumers can come directly to you. And you want
Mhm.
that because it's cheaper for them. It's also
Right.
more money for the franchisee. They get more options, a better experience.
Well, that was very helpful. Now let's go ahead and hit this question directly on. Where do you find someone who wants to be the technician employee who deals with the animals once they pass?
Yep. I get that question a lot, and
I bet
people,
you do.
because people as an owner can't think like I wouldn't do that. No,
Mhm.
but you also wouldn't go work at Starbucks or McDonald's either, right? And there's plenty of
Mhm.
people that do, right?
That's a
Um,
good point. Mhm.
Yeah, so there's people out there that do it. But the thing that I love is that we actually recruit from the DOC, the Department of Corrections. There's so
Okay.
many people in life that need a second chance and they need good, honest work that they can actually make a good living on to provide
Mhm.
for their family. And so hiring from the DOC actually gives you a huge payroll tax advantage as well. And
Mhm.
not a lot of people know that. So we're always thinking about how are these different ways to get tax advantages and write offs, those types of things.
Mhm.
So that's it, for the that's our strategy has been anyways. But
Mhm,
there's people out there that don't want to be a Walmart greeter, don't want to work at a cash register, they don't
mhm,
want to, you know, work in the hot sun,
mhm,
mowing lawns anymore. It is unskilled labor, and there is a plethora of unskilled labor out there,
mhm.
and so it's good, honest work, and it's not as difficult as you may think.
Well, Jamie, you also had shared with me previously that there are other tax advantages associated with this type business.
Yeah.
Expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's the whole philanthropic standpoint of this business model. So working with your community, whether it's the local ASPA, shelter, etc., where with we're trying to create a uh, a partnership with the ASPCA nationally, where
Mhm.
they will bring us all their shelter animals, and we will cremate them for only $10. We
Wow.
cremate them as a communal cremation, though not private,
Mhm,
because they're not getting the
mhm.
ashes back.
Right.
But for each pet, we do a $90 non-cash donation. And so at the end of the year, you can claim up to a certain percentage of that non-cash donation. Other examples is working with the police department. For instance, they have the drug take back. They have to get rid of those drugs, and so you can
Mhm.
burn those drugs for your local police department. Now,
Wow.
some counties may require a license, but it's not that difficult to get that license. So it can be really helpful. But even just recently, we actually did a huge funeral. We paid for the euthanizing, the cremation, and a funeral for a canine officer, Flash, who was shot in the line of duty. Canine Flash saved 8 people's lives, 8 officers' lives. So,
Wow.
but we did this huge funeral, and we covered the cost for all of that for the state police of Miami, or the city police of Miami, actually.
Amazing.
So there's ways to give back, and be a part of the community, and really feel good about what you're doing.
Well, that is an amazing story. So, Jamie, if there's just one main takeaway you want people to have about Resting Rainbow, what would it be?
So we've talked about all the warm and fuzzies and stuff like that. So I think, the biggest thing is, I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. I'm going to say two. Um, so the first is I encourage people to try to put the ick factor off to the side for a moment, right? Because it is icky. You're dealing with dead animals, and people are sad. I get
Mhm,
that. However, if you look at it from a glass half full perspective, you're doing the family a favor. Everyone's pets are going to die. Every single pet is going to die. And 90% of people are choosing cremation, right? So
mhm,
why not provide an amazing end of life service for these families who are grieving, and make it professional and empathetic, etc. Just like in senior care, it's end of life care, let's face it, right? And it
mhm,
is sad, but you can feel really good that you're making a difference in people's lives. But the
mhm.
other piece of it is that, because it's the ick factor, most people don't want to do it. So that means way less competition, which is probably one of my favorite things
That's a
about.
good point.
I see ick factor, I see ching ching, right? Because it means very few people want to do it. And then my last thing is we're working with every single animal. Most of the pet care brands out there, and I love them, but they only work with dogs and sometimes cats. We're cremating iguanas, snakes, birds, hedgehogs, lions, and tigers. I mean,
Wow.
yes, because you can work with the zoos and the aquariums. We cremated a dolphin. There's so many different types of animals. Possums. You believe how many people have possums? The other day I was on the call with the founder, and he got a call from somebody who had a fox that needed to be cremated. And then the very next call, American bald eagle.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Amazing.
it's crazy. So it's just an amazing brand, but a lot of people are going to turn off instantly because of the ick factor. So my
Mhm.
biggest takeaway is try to set that aside for a moment and understand the model altogether.
It's more about helping uh, say goodbye to your loved ones. That's really what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. So those people that are out there wanting to feel good about the business model they're in, there's nothing better than helping people say goodbye to their loved ones, in my opinion.
Good point, Jamie. Well, Jamie, we're out of time. If anyone wants to learn more about Resting Rainbow, what do you recommend they do?
Well, Anna has been in business for even longer than I have, over 20 years.
Right.
So she is going to be your absolute best bet, not only to learn more about Resting Rainbow, but to really match you up with the needs, because ultimately you have your own checklist as a candidate that you're trying to
Mhm.
accomplish. And if you share that checklist with Anna, she's going to help you save a ton of time by
Right.
saying, well, if that's what you want, then we're going to eliminate all of these because they're
Right.
not going to fit your needs. So I think that's the best advice I can give is you can get to me through Anna, and Anna's going to be able to help you with all of your needs in franchising.
Good. Thank you so much for that, Jamie. And thank you so much for being here. Audience, this is Jamie LaVine with Resting Rainbow. It's been wonderful. A lot of insights I've learned about pet cremation and memorial services today, that's for sure. And audience, thank you for being here. Come back next week. We're going to talk about one of my very favorite home service franchises. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Come back next Wednesday at 11:30. See you then.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.